Hey, good morning, everybody. BDF 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so day after the Lakers make the trade for Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton, of course, the 3 second-round picks went out with D'Angelo Russell as well as Maxwell Lewis, young prospect for the Lakers, now going to be for the Nets. And, you know, of course, we made the urgency video last night talking about how concerned we were about the continuity of our basketball team as it pertains to on-court playmaking, ball handling to a degree. I look at ball handling and facilitating as not the same thing. I look at point guards facilitating and ball handling as three different things. I can have a point guard that doesn't facilitate and is not a great ball handler, as long as he can just play the position. He doesn't, you know, point guards in this league don't necessarily have to run the team. You can have your facilitator be your center at this point. You can have your facilitator be a small forward, as we know. So that's not really the same thing. And sometimes facilitators don't necessarily have to be ball handlers. In fact, they could be players that are basically stationary. You know what I mean? And sometimes you can have a point guard be a scoring point guard, high level, but not really looking to facilitate at all, or not looking to score at all, but can ball handle. I've seen all of those types of players. What the Lakers need, in my opinion, is a pure facilitator. Not pure. Pure meaning he has to be able to do that well. That don't necessarily mean I want that to be the only thing he can do. In fact, that definitely doesn't mean that. But we're missing someone who is going to be a connective piece, a facilitator of ball movement, a rhythm passer that's going to get the ball to people's pockets. And a lot of times what you end up finding is that the more a team has of those, the better ball movement is, the better pace is, the better you likely are in terms of turning the ball over sometimes. I don't know if it always equates to that, but what you end up having is better plays, better continuity, more likelihood that guys are able to score, not asked to improvise for themselves. And the thing about the facilitators that the Lakers have is they are also recipients of good facilitation coming their way. Austin Reeves usually cuts well, plays pretty well off the ball. Bron is also someone who wants to look for opportunities to play off ball and score and be receiving of passes. And if they're always looking to be that for which is a facilitator on this team, it cuts into what they can ultimately do for the squad themselves, scoring the ball. And given the fact that we only have two of those guys, it makes it difficult for us to find continuity when either one of them are not on the floor. You figure Bron misses games. Austin can't play 48 minutes a night. And the only other person that I really accuse of being a pretty solid passer on this team is Anthony Davis, who most definitely needs a facilitator to find him consistently, because one of the issues the Lakers have is, of course, finding Anthony Davis consistently, as we know. So D'Angelo Russell was one of the main guys that found Anthony Davis consistently was on the floor. Whether he's shooting well, whether the defense is working out, whether anything is happening for himself or not, he was always a player that's looking to get Anthony Davis the basketball. We don't have that piece anymore that we've moved it. And that's going to be a big problem for our offense. Particularly our offense in the second unit, because both of our main facilitators, all three of our main facilitators, are obviously going to be in the starting lineup. So how JJ works that out is going to be a determining factor of how much success you can expect this team to have, in my opinion. So that's something that I've been thinking about. I am encouraged by some really nice plays that I saw in the highlights from Dorian Finney-Smith in that regard. He made some real heady passes in the highlights I saw. And so I think that his ability to help with that from play to play could potentially be exploited, I guess you can say. We can explore opportunities to see that he's good at that for us. I think Jackson Hayes is also somebody that has a sneaky, strong ability to facilitate the basketball at a nice level. So I think the most important thing is to just understand the guys who are not really good at that. Max Christie, I've told you guys, I think Max Christie needs to work a lot on his passing accuracy. He's not a selfish player. He looks to make plays at a healthy mindset, but his execution of passes leaves so much to be desired. So I don't trust him to be a facilitator. Rui Hachimura is awful at it. Rui Hachimura's got tunnel vision a lot of the time. I think he's improved some, but he's still a long way away from being decent as a passer. That's not his game. That's not Max's game. Those are two of your most important players who are going to be on the floor a good majority of the time. Neither one of them are going to be making anybody else better or each other better. So it's like, not only do you have a lack of facilitators, but you have some tunnel vision guys that require facilitators to be around them in order for the offense to make any damn sense. Those two alone definitely need somebody down there who's thinking pass, multiple people in every rotation they have thinking pass in order for ball movement to be consistent on the floor with them down there. So it's like, you got Max Christie and Rui Hachimura who are negative passers in my mind, and you're lacking facilitators in other areas. And some of your better facilitators are also people you want scoring a lot. You need a passer, man. And so that was the video I made last night. I made a video really trying to bring home the emphasis of that. But that's really the only thought that comes to mind, even now. It's like, I don't think people really understand how ugly some of our plays are going to be, some of our circumstances are going to be, with guys just coming down, jacking up the ball without other people touching it. That could be a real problem for this team right now. And we got to figure that out as a unit if we're not going to make a trade to get that facilitating piece in place. Ball handling, yeah, you want some more shot creation. When I think of shot creation, I think it usually comes from guys creating shots for themselves, good footwork, step back this. A lot of times those shot creators, they're able to create plays for themselves. It's not necessarily, shot creation isn't as, it doesn't really touch into what we're talking about to me, as I define shot creation. Shot creators usually know how to jab, step, turn around, footwork, late, fade away, jab, step, pump, fake, this, that, and the third, and create shots. That's cool. They create shots for themselves. You don't have to really have a facilitator down there to make them effective in scoring the ball. I think that's a skill, but it doesn't help what it is that I'm worried about. That's not necessarily where the Lakers are struggling. Ball handlers are people who can dribble the ball, run the ball down court. I got a couple of guys that I can trust to do that, but are not necessarily facilitators. I can trust that Max Christie can ball handle some. Austin Reeves obviously is going to be that for us. Bron can do some of that. We often have AD run the ball down. I don't really worry about that too much. Someone else that I think may be able to facilitate some, although this doesn't help us right now, is Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a guy who can get 3 or 4 assists off. So you can run plays between Vanderbilt, Dorian Finney-Smith, Jackson Hayes. Those are 3 guys that should be able to, within the course of a structured offense, keep ball movement flowing. They're not bad at that. Rui, Gabe should be able to a little bit. Gabe should be able to. But like some of our pieces, man, they're not. Rui and Max particularly are the ones I'm really thinking that it could be a thing if we don't get a facilitator down there. If we don't get a facilitator down there, it could really be a thing. So, Shake Milton, they mentioned that they're excited about Shake Milton's playmaking ability. I don't know, man. I don't think that's what he does, not judging by the numbers. That ain't what he does. He's an accurate 3-point shooter. Gabe Vincent at his best type of thing. Avery Bradley, I often refer to Avery Bradley because a lot of people want him to be a point guard, but he wasn't a creator of opportunities for others to score. I need something very specific for this unit that we don't have, and that's a facilitator. Someone who I can trust to get about 6 assists a night from either the point guard position or maybe another position, and make sure they're on the floor with a healthy dose of opportunities to run the offense. So that's what I'm saying. We're asking a little too much of Austin right now. We're asking LeBron to be that, and we know how LeBron tends to turn the ball over and miss games. You don't want to be in that space. You do not want to be in that space. So that's what I'm telling everybody. We got to just get our act together as it pertains to having that piece on our team fast. Or we're gonna probably drop games against good teams like Cleveland tomorrow. It's going to be very difficult. If Austin doesn't continue facilitating like he has been, we're going to have a hard time. I look at that Miami game. And if Austin's your sole facilitator, you saw how things went in that Miami game. 6 turnovers. I think he had, 2 assists. He's responsible for not having nights like that anymore. Based on how we got this thing set up right now. That's a dangerous thing we're setting ourselves up for right there. So, I just think that at this point, another trade is absolutely necessary, even if it's us removing someone from the team so that we can sign a Markelle Fultz. That is like a need right now. That's a need. To a point, now this is going to sound a little disappointing to hear me say this, but I would not be opposed to the Lakers trying to waive maybe a Shake Milton so that you can pick up on Markelle Fultz. Not because I don't think Shake Milton's any good or anything like that. I think he's a fine player, but we just have a specific need, and he ain't that. Now, I do think Shake Milton could help us with some scoring off the bench, which is also something that I think we really could use. And I'm open-minded to him being a really solid role player for us. So it's not like I'm just in a nutshell saying, yo, let's move on from this particular piece. I give him a chance. We've had some bad luck with guys of his ilk, which kind of concerns me, but that ain't got nothing to do with him. You know what I mean? We just had some bad luck with the shooting guard position of role players lately. Heck, historically, to be honest with you. I can think of a million different dudes that are in that Shake Milton range that just have not done well with the Lakers. So that's why I'm kind of like, I come in a little pessimistic about Shake. But all in all, we give everybody an opportunity to play well in our uniform. Who knows? Malik Monk was a guy who we didn't think too much of when we signed him, and he ended up being fantastic for us. I think of a guy like Sasha Vujacic way back in the day, who kind of had that role with flourishing in that role. You know what I mean? I think Lonnie Walker, with the minutes given, we definitely appreciated Lonnie more than the coaching staff did. That's for damn sure. But I liked him at that role. So maybe Shea can be another guy that makes a name for himself. We don't have to go to Kendrick Nunn route. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm hopeful we will see, man. It won't be a Malik Beasley-like situation there. But, at the end of the day, I just want this team to really get that facilitator on it. I'm more interested in us making a trade now than I was before we made the trade. Because I thought that the Lakers could get away. We weren't going to win a championship if we didn't make a move. But I thought for the cohesive nature of running basketball, just what is required so that your game can look like it's really, like you know what you're doing, I thought we had the pieces to where we could run cohesive basketball games while D'Lo was on the team without Dorian Finney-Smith here. Now that Dorian's here, I'm legitimately concerned that with a facilitating piece, we're significantly better than we were before. But now we've brought in a piece that, in my opinion, is not nearly as important as that facilitator that makes everybody else better. It's not. For the team that we were before we moved D'Lo, you add DFS to that team, and that team was fantastic. So the vision that a lot of people have in their mind is what it is that I think, is ultimately not, that people are not taking into account the need for that facilitator as a means of it being an engine that makes your offense and kind of go, which ultimately trickles down to your defense with a lot of players that we have, because we know how it is. If Rui don't see no ball falling, he ain't gonna play no defense. You know what I mean? Some of these guys are like that. So for me, that piece kind of makes the whole thing make sense. Or many people are saying, well, Austin can play that role, not taking into account that Austin can't play 48 minutes or may not play well in a given night or may get in foul trouble. That's the normal stuff. You just don't. The vision that I have for this team is lacking something it needs, period. And I didn't necessarily feel that way as strongly with the lack of a big man or a lack of a two-way wing that like everybody else did. I think you need that stuff, but that's, to me, is like an attribute that raises the overall ceiling of a cohesive team. If you remove the facilitator, you don't have a cohesive team. That's essentially what I'm saying to you. So that's what I'm thinking. I didn't love D'Lo on this team. I don't want people to think that I'm a I'm a hater of this trade. No, not at all. You got rid of a not so great engine and brought me a souped up, fantastic, what do you call it? Like you put air conditioning in my car. Like I really needed an AC, but not nearly as much as I needed an engine. You feel me? Now that don't mean I want to be in this car at all without an AC, but I definitely can't move the car without my engine, and that's basically what it comes down to. The engine wasn't so good, but at least it get the car going. You remove the engine and you put an AC in there. Thanks. You know what I'm saying? Literally, thanks. And it's not about D'Lo specifically. It's just about that one thing that D'Lo did that you can't live without. And so we're going to find out if we can live without it or not. Austin's going to be able to do some of that. LeBron James is tasked with doing more of that. And that's what it is. LeBron, happy birthday, brother. That's the first thing I want to say. Happy birthday, LeBron James, 40 years old today. That car wash is equivalent to a round of applause. That's what we're going to call that. That's an applause for LeBron turning 40. But with the real thought that I had in mind, LeBron James tends to make decisions that I don't often agree with. Taking a certain type of shot down the stretch of a basketball game, where if it goes, he closes the game out. If it doesn't go, he's leaving the game open. I don't like taking those type of risks. He's done that a couple times. Turn the ball over. He has these stretches where he can't stop turning the ball over for 2 and 3 games, 4 games at a time. I do not want to rely upon him to be my facilitator for that reason, amongst others. Plus, he's a fantastic recipient of the ball as well. He's going to score as easy as anybody in the league, so you want him catching passes. He can't be the guy always looking to make passes. That takes away from what he can do. So it's like, now you got to exploit his ability to facilitate, but you also end up exposing his choices, his decision making that kind of hurts the teams at times. You know, the mental lapses that tend to come. You start really relying upon him not to do that. And that's another reason why we need to hurry up and get this facilitator ASAP Rocky status, like right away, man. We need that. We need that right away. And so I think Rob Pelinka should really try to create a roster spot. I don't know exactly what his opportunities are to make another trade that can do that. But having Markelle Fultz signed by us at this point is not only something that I think can help the team, but it's something they probably need more than anything they think they need. They really need that. Because Markelle come in and get about 7-8 assists. You could put him, you know, in that D'Lo role. He'd probably play it better than D'Lo in some ways. Not the three-point shooter D'Lo is, but he's a much better defender. And much more athletic. Even with the knee injuries, he's still going to naturally be a swifty player, spin moves and stuff like that. He does naturally. I like Markelle Fultz for the Lakers right now more than ever. And with him being a free agent, I would have already told him not to sign with nobody else. Come start working out with the team. Move to Los Angeles right now, because we're going to sign you as soon as we have an opportunity to. We need what you do, and we value you already. So get over here, start working out with the team. Get over here, get acclimated in the city, because you're going to be a Laker if you have an interest in being that. That's what I would tell him. It's exactly what I would tell him. After making that D'Lo move, hey, yo, man, get that dude on a flight to Los Angeles right now. Because that's exactly what you need, man. So these are the type of things we're talking about right now, man. You know, I was looking at, like I said, the highlights of DFS. I'm very excited about his three-point shooting ability. Who is passing him the rock? You know what I'm saying? That's the question. He's a fantastic catch-and-shoot player. What does that mean? That means somebody got to be passing him them. It's a catch and shoot. If you don't put the catch in there, ain't going to be no shoot. And that's something I also want to say. I would love to spearhead the normalization of determining whether a person is a good catch-and-shoot three-point shooter or dribble-and-shoot three-point shooter, because it doesn't tell the full enough story if you just say they shoot a certain percentage. It doesn't tell a full enough story, because I don't know if I can count on them to shoot well if I don't have a facilitator passing in the rock. You see what I'm saying? A guy like D'Lo was a terrible catch-and-shoot three-point shooter this year. He was shooting good for the most part off the dribble, So that tells a different story, don't you think? So if we talk about a guy as a 40% three-point shooter, is he 40% on both of those? What's his percentage on catch and shoot threes? What's his percentage shooting off the dribble? We need to just make it very, very specific and distinctive going forward. In my opinion, it's so very necessary when trying to assess if a player can shoot, which one of those two things we're talking about each and every time. Each and every time. Because if I bring a guy to my team that can only shoot the ball when he's dribbling, I'm in trouble if I think that he can catch and shoot. You see what I'm saying? I'm in real trouble. If he's a guy who can only catch and shoot and can't get it off the dribble, and I don't have an offense set up for people to be passing him the rock, he's going to have to do it off the dribble. And I think he's a 40% three-point shooter. He ends up being a 20% three-point shooter based on what it is I'm putting him in my offense. It's so important that we differentiate the two regularly from here on out. Because that'll tell me if what I have next to this player is going to get from him what it is that I'm putting into this account or not. You know what I mean? And that's something that D'Lo has taught me. And as we talk about Dorian Finney-Smith, that's something that I think is very important. I don't know that he's a great three-point shooter off the dribble. He is off the catch. So these are things that we have to start normalizing, talking about distinctively, specifically point that out each and every time we talk about three-point shooting and percentages and stuff like that. Separate those percentages entirely. I think it will help with the assessment of the player and what it is you're bringing to the table when you acquire said player. So these are things that just, in the evolution of the game, just like we start incorporating the word stocks, putting blocks and steals together, this is something that really needs to be done regularly, everywhere. Because at the end of the day, in a Lakers situation, in this particular Lakers situation where we only have two facilitators, if my guy's only good at catching and shooting and I pick him up thinking I'm going to get something off the dribble, I'm screwed. And a lot of dudes don't shoot the same when it's off the dribble versus when it's off the catch. They just don't. Most people have different shooting percentages when it comes to those two specific things. And so I think it's important to normalize that. I don't want to hear nothing about no 40% three-point shooter. Which is he 40% off of? And what's his percentage for the other? Normalize talking about that, and then we'll really know what the hell we got going on. So that's something I was thinking about this morning, and I figured I'd throw it into this video here. So, yeah, man, that's something I heard this morning that the Nets still want multiple first-round picks for Cam Johnson. You know, I don't doubt Cam Johnson is playing great, but the Nets need to understand that people aren't necessarily looking at the players that they have and saying, yo, they're going to play like this when I get them. Maybe not. Maybe not. Because when I look at how Dennis Schroeder's been balling all year for the Nets, and I look at what the hell's going on in Golden State, nah. Hell nah. You feel me? The Nets have made it so that they're featuring players that they're looking to trade, which makes all the sense in the world. But that also is a disingenuous type of a thing where you want us to assess the players based on the production you're providing them and giving them the ball 100 times a game at 40 minutes a night. And pay that price only for me to bring him back here, play him 25 minutes a night, and he don't play that well. Now all of a sudden I didn't play the enormous amount for production that I'm not going to be able to see. I think that they've already proven that to be the case. We're going to see what's going on with Dorian Finney-Smith in that regard with the Lakers. But the Nets going to have to understand, like, that's going to be something, if I'm an opposing GM looking to get any more of your stuff, that's going to be something I'm assessing from here on out. How does DFS look with the Lakers? How does Dennis Schroeder look with the Golden State Warriors for the next 10 games, 12 games? Because if they struggle, both of them struggle, then we're looking at this like a Miami Heat type situation where people leave your spot and don't look as good. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I'm not willing to pay for. So teams are going to always look to feature guys they want to trade. But they got to understand that talking heads like me are going to point out that that should probably be done away with in regards to paying the price that you ultimately playing them up to be. I'm doing away with that because I know better than to think that I'm going to get that production out of this guy when I'm not going to be featuring him like that. I'm not. I'm not going to. So I want to pay the price that I'm expecting him to be for my team, not the price that you've souped him up to look for yours. So we're going to put an end to that. So that's my attitude there too, man. There will be no 2 picks given up for Cam Johnson. I don't doubt that he's playing like a star, but I also don't doubt that he's not a star. And that's it. He's a good player. To hit a 3, but all these super consistent minutes he's getting with the bad Nets, souping him up to look like he's the next coming of, Tracy McGrady or something like that. I'm not rolling. I'm not paying that price. I'm not doing that. So I just want the Nets to understand that I'm not doing that. Another thing that I think I wanted to kind of comment on in regards to the Nets was the Memphis Grizzlies proposed trade for Dorian Finney-Smith. Memphis had John Conchar, Luke Kennard, a first-round pick, strongly protected. I think it was top 15 protected, on the table for Dorian Finney-Smith, and second-round draft compensation headed back to the Nets. And it was said that the Nets said nah. Now, I think that there was also some second-round compensation headed back to Memphis as well. I'm not really sure about that though. But the first-round pick and those 2 players, Memphis was definitely ready to give up. And I think the Nets were asked to give back the second round. I think that's how that went. I think it was the Nets who were asked to give back second-round picks along with Dorian Finney-Smith. I think the Nets didn't want to give up the second-round equity. I think they said, you know what? This is a trade that maybe we'd be willing to do if you didn't ask for us to give up draft compensation. That's just my speculation. I've heard a lot of different people say a lot of things. Some people say the 3 Lakers second-round picks was probably more valuable to the Nets than the top 15 protected first-rounder. But I genuinely think that the Nets probably looked at losing any second-round draft equity as a loss for them in regards to any trades they're trying to make to get rid of people. I just don't think it made a whole lot of sense for them to get rid of that. Now, granted, you bring back a first-round pick, but it's top 15 protected for this upcoming year for a Memphis team that could potentially be good enough to win the West. It's just not a great first-rounder. Not for a team that's rebuilding. And mind you, the Los Angeles Lakers provide a whole nother $20 million to come off of the books with the D'Lo contract and 3 second-rounders coming with it. So I don't know what Kennard's contract looks like. I don't know what Conchar's contract look like. They could be expiring as well. So that could change a lot of what it is that we're talking about. I really don't know. But what I can say is that $20 million coming off the books, coupled with not having to give up any draft equity and receiving 3 second-rounders, I think is what the Nets were ultimately thinking. As hard as it is to get first-round picks, I can definitely understand why the Nets didn't look all that great to people for passing up on that offer. Especially when you consider the potential of D'Lo coming back, having a resurgence, and maybe costing them some wins for which they're trying to tank, so they really don't want those. But I looked at the Nets and what they have coming off the books yesterday, and I mentioned it in my reaction to the trade. They have a little more than $100 million coming off the books this upcoming summer. Obviously, you probably resign some of those guys because that's just a natural thing. But the point is they could potentially be in the money to revamp their entire team, take on well more than enough salary to do a super team or something like that. They could do a lot of different things this upcoming season with so much money coming off the books. And I think they saw D'Lo as a player who really flourished in their uniform. Maybe somebody they could potentially re-sign at a discount next year. And somebody the fans would ultimately appreciate. A guy like Luke Kennard and Conchar are not really exciting players for a rebuilding squad or for a team that, is not really sure what they're going to look like. I don't think you really need those guys that much for much anything. Probably buyout candidates, to be honest with you. And so maybe if they start removing a little more of their protections on that pick, maybe they would have been excited about doing that deal. But the fact that that pick was so protected, the players weren't exciting for the Nets situation. And ultimately, the Nets were asked to give up draft compensation or considerations, however that looked. I just think the Nets said, you know what? That first round pick looks pretty solid, but not nearly as solid as all of the different things that come with the Laker package. And so I don't disagree. I don't know that I disagree or not, depending on what Conchar and Kennard's contract look like. I don't think I do, though. Assuming those guys are not going to create $20 million between the two of them coming off the books this year, that pick just don't look that good to me. And so that's really my point of view. I just don't think that picks look that great to me. A first round pick is obviously more valuable in a lot of people's war chest than second rounders. When we talking about bringing in 3 second rounders to span over, 4 or 5 years with the Lakers, you could flip those second rounders and probably get a first round pick. If you move 3 of them, it's probably the equivalent of a protected first any damn way. So that's really my point of view. I just think that the Los Angeles Lakers are in a strong position to feel good about winning that trade because they were willing to give up those 3 picks and ultimately willing to give up D'Angelo Russell's expiring contract. And so we're happy with that. As a Laker fan, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that Rob Pelinka did a pretty good job with that trade. Obviously, the emphasis on us getting more done is now even more crucial to me. But that doesn't mean that there aren't solutions that can quickly fix that. Creating a roster spot and bringing in Markelle Fultz quickly fixes that for me. Calling up Jalen Hood-Schifino and taking him off the trade block and giving him a healthy dose of 15 minutes off the bench quickly potentially fixes that for me. Even though I know a lot of people don't believe in JHS, now I think his passing profile is exactly what the Lakers really need right now. And so I'm of the mindset that if you can't make a trade for a facilitator, there's my answer right there. And then I look at how we didn't play Max Christie last year and look at how he's playing right now, and I just legitimately think that there's an argument for that we're making the same mistake with JHS. There's a strong argument we're making the same mistake with JHS. And so that's what I'm here to tell people. I just think that the Los Angeles Lakers have solutions without even making a trade to this problem. They just got to be willing to call that player up. And that's why it's not doom and gloom. Maybe we can't make another trade for a facilitator. Maybe we can't create that roster spot with another trade. JHS is my solution. And I would be using him if I'm JJ Redick. And I would not be trading him for the rest of the season without bringing back a facilitator. So that's really what it is, man. Tyus Jones is who I was trying to think of last night to place for the Suns. I said his brother's name is Trey, plays for San Antonio. I thought he would be a good acquisition for the Lakers if they could try to get him. But, of course, Phoenix should have absolutely no interest in moving him at all. I just couldn't remember what his name is, and now I do. Jones. Tyus. I think his brother Trey would be great in this situation, too. He's not getting the minutes in San Antonio that I think his upside should ultimately demand. He reminds me a little bit of Scottie Pippen Jr., in a sense that, we've seen him pop, but they're not giving him an opportunity. If he goes somewhere else, he might get it. So that's something that I think the Lakers should really have in mind. I don't think San Antonio should necessarily be looking to move Jones, but I would love to see him elsewhere, and we could use a pure point guard facilitator. So, these are the type of things that come to mind, man. You got to start hunting out these players. I really think Josh Giddey's somebody I would love to get too for the Lakers. A big guard that looks to facilitate, a strong rhythm passer. It's exactly the type of piece that I think the Lakers could use. A rebounder. He does have some flaws. He definitely doesn't shoot the 3-ball very well. Obviously, the stuff off the court messes with his value, but that makes him even more likely to be able to be gotten. The Bulls may re-sign him, but if he thinks he has an opportunity to play with the Lakers, he probably doesn't stay with the Bulls any damn way. So he'd probably throw a monkey wrench in that by showing some interest. So these are the type of things I think we could use. Players like that. Lonzo Ball's expiring 20. I'm not willing to give up any draft compensation for a Lonzo Ball rental. As bad as we could use a facilitator, I could just as easy, like I said, play JHS. I don't need to give up contract A, contract B, JHS, and who is it? What's the guy's name? Gabe Vincent. I don't need to do that to bring in Lonzo Ball for half a season when I think there's a good chance he's going to be hurt most of that any damn way. I just don't think we can afford to do that. Now, if he gets bought out, then yeah, just like Markelle Fultz, I think Lonzo Ball should be on that list of players we should be looking to sign in a buyout situation. And because I think it's a decent chance Lonzo may get bought out if they can't trade him, maybe I wait for that. But if I wait for that and I'm not able to win that sweepstakes, now I'm out of my facilitator, and we're in the JHS train trying to make him a facilitator. So I think the safest thing for the Lakers to do at this point is start grooming JHS regardless, man. Safest thing is starting tomorrow, play that kid regularly. For your ball movement and for the continuity of your second and third unit, and for the notion that there's a chance you could potentially lose Austin Reeves to injury or something like that, and now you need to use this kid, the safest thing for the Lakers to do is start playing him now. If he's healthy enough to play. They've been saying he's hurt. I don't know if that's a real thing or if they just not allowing him to play based on the circumstances surrounding him and his contract, which at this point we just need what he does, man. It's time to stop playing those type of games. You could do that when you don't need the player, but when you do, it's not time to be playing those type of games. So, yeah, man, I'm telling y'all, that's the solution. 21-year-old point guard, 6'6", he's a passer. I think that everybody thinks he sucks. No, we just haven't utilized him, and we probably shouldn't have taken him. But now, since that we have him, there's no sense in not developing him or giving up on him at 20 years old. I just think that's stupid, man. That's stupid. You know how many players looked as bad as he did and went on to have good careers? It ain't like the evidence hasn't shown us a handful of that in this NBA lifetime. I've seen plenty of players look as bad as JHS in their first years, just to come around and be real role players or even better. Nah. I think that the evidence shows us that the way we're handling JHS it's the wrong way to go. It really is, in a lot of situations. And so, if they can make a move to get a better facilitator, one they trust a little more, moving him is not the worst thing in the world. But if you don't have that player coming back, and you make another trade like you just made right now, for better or for worse, if you don't have that player coming back, it could be a problem. It could really be a problem for the LA Lakers. So, that's what I want to say. Salute the Kobe minute. It was like 10 minutes ago, but you get the point, man. I always want to show love to Kobe. But I really think that the LA Lakers are better. But now you're more reliant upon Austin and Bron to make plays for others and not turn the ball over as much. And I just think that's a terrible thing to ask those two to do as the only facilitators in use. We got like a 9-man rotation, only 2 people profile as facilitators. That's terrible, man. That's legitimately terrible for yourself. If one of them was in the starting lineup and the other is coming off the bench, you feel a lot better about that. But that they're both in the starting lineup? No, man. No, I'm telling you, no. And the evidence, hopefully, I'd love to be proven wrong. Maybe it doesn't look that way, but profiles don't lie, man. There's only a couple guys on this team that's looking to make people better. And they're all in that starting lineup. So if we ignore that and we start running basketball out there, the evidence is going to show us, in my opinion, exactly what my urgency has been over the last 24 hours. And you're going to see it. You're gonna be like, oh man, nah, it's not gonna work. We need this facilitator. I just kind of already know that. That's really what it comes down to. Some stuff I don't really have to see. As much experience I have with the game, watching it over the years, playing it online and video games, stuff like that. As much experience and many man hours that I put into this sport, I kind of understand this aspect without actually needing to see it play itself out. You need that facilitator out there. You can't just have 2 facilitators. You cannot. Not when you have negative facilitators in regular rotation. It doesn't work. So that's what I'm telling people, man. I'm excited about DFS though. His defense, his catch and shoot ability, all the things that people were excited about with DFS, I am as well. I think we got him for a good price. It's not a bad trade. I'm glad we didn't give up any first to get him. All of that is positive. All of that's positive. It's just that, as I said many times, when you close one hole with this roster, now you open up another one. And if you don't identify that you've done that, then you're going to find yourself caught off guard by that hole, and it's going to be leaking until you close it. And that is exactly what I think a lot of Laker Nation is doing right now. They're overlooking that hole, man. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.